Hello everyone, it's Dylan from Yu-Gi-Oh! Everything, and welcome back to another Anime vs. Manga analysis. You guys voted over on Patreon and decided that the next character to be analyzed in this segment is the King Jack Atlas. If you are unfamiliar with this segment, I go over a Yu-Gi-Oh! Character in the anime, the manga, compare and contrast the two versions of that character, briefly go over the decks the character used, and then choose between which version I liked better, their anime persona or their manga persona. Hopefully you guys let me know which version of Jack you liked better as well, and without further ado, let's begin. I hope you all enjoy. In the Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds anime, Jack Atlas played the role of the rival, the Kaiba of 5Ds if you will, and while he starts off as a real pain for Yusei to deal with, his character and personal growth is a joy to watch throughout the show, and once again, becomes one of Yusei's close friends by the end of the 5Ds story. Jack's parents were killed in the Zero Reverse tragedy, as were Yusei's and Crow's. Thus, Jack grew up being best friends with Yusei and Crow. These three eventually joined forces with another friend, Kiryu or Callan in the dub, and created a justice team called Team Satisfaction. These four attempted to clean up the streets of Satellite through duels and tried to make it a safer place. Unfortunately, Kiryu ended up losing his mind and went insane, which caused him to get arrested and in turn officially broke up Team Satisfaction. These events all take place before the 5Ds anime even begins. At the start of 5Ds, we learn that Jack, who felt that Satellite and friends were holding him back, stole Yusei's Stardust Dragon card, his D-Wheel, and escaped to Satellite to go to New Domino City. In New Domino City, he quickly became the Duel King and became idolized by a mass majority of people. Of course, Yusei Fudo was not one of those people. Yusei ended up escaping Satellite as well in pursuit of Jack. During the Fortune Cup, which took place early in 5Ds, Jack ended up losing to Yusei in the finals, which knocked him off his pedestal. Jack was rushed to the hospital after this defeat. Lucky for Jack, there was an eventual angel waiting for him in the hospital when he came to. Jack was greeted by Carly Carmine, who in my opinion had one of the greatest influences any character in Yu-Gi-Oh! Has ever had on a rival character. Jack then spent a lot of time with Carly in the days leading up to the Darksiders fiasco. It was during this time that Jack realized how badly Godwin used him, and how he felt extreme guilt for betraying his friends, the only people who ever actually cared for him. Without Carly, who knows if Jack would have been able to come to this important realization. Jack then watches from the sidelines as the Darksiders begin to wreak havoc. He watches Yusei lose to Kiryu and get impaled in the stomach. He then rushes to the Arcadia headquarters, only to see an unconscious Aki after her intense duel with Misty. He ends up saving Aki's life, but is unable to find Carly during the chaos. Of course, at this point, Carly has become a Dark Signer. Eventually, the fated two duel each other in a winner-take-all Signer vs. Dark Signer duel. Jack tries to end the duel in a draw so they can be with each other in the afterlife. However, Carly ends up using a trap that basically gives Jack the win in what was one of the most emotional duels in all of 5Ds. Jack then goes on to assist Yusei and Crow as they defeat Godwin and stop the Dark Signer's ambitions. Usually, love minus sibling love is rarely mentioned in Yu-Gi-Oh! However, during this duel against Godwin, Jack says that one woman's love saved him, obviously referring to Carly. So if you ever had any wonders as to how much of an impact Carly had on Jack, or as to how much he cared about her, that one line says a lot. Unfortunately, after this arc, their relationship is never really touched on or expanded on, and Carly becomes a pretty heavy side character in the later seasons. During the next few seasons, Jack remains a vital character in the story. He is a core member of Team 5Ds and helps lead them to the World Racing Grand Prix. During this tournament, we learn that Jack is the reincarnation of one of the original legendary signers after he performs Burning Soul and gains the power of Scar Red Nova Dragon. Jack went to the Arc Cradle in Season 5 along with most of the crew. It was here that he took on Aporia alongside the twins in another classic 5Ds duel. Jack and his Scar Red Nova Dragon end up getting over Aporia, which stops one of the gears of the Arc Cradle. He then gives Yusei his Red Demon's Dragon and watches the final duel between Yusei and Zone. After Yusei stops the Arc Cradle, Jack goes on a dueling rampage, beating Sherry, Kiryu, and others, and eventually he challenges Yusei to one final duel. Yusei ends up defeating him yet again. In a flash forward, Jack goes on to become the World King 8 years later and accepts a challenge from a familiar person, Crow. Unfortunately, we never see this duel since the 5D story comes to an end right around this time. Jack definitely has an interesting character arc in the anime, and seeing him go from hated opponent to respected rival was really fun to watch. Jack in the manga was pretty different than his anime counterpart. The main reason for this is because of how extremely different the 5Ds manga is compared to the 5Ds anime. It's important to note that instead of Signer dragons, which were vital to the 5Ds anime, the 5Ds manga had dual dragons. Jack grew up in a facility owned by Rex Godwin and was given his dual dragon during this time, Jeweled Red Demon's Dragon. During his time in the facility, he defeated Kiryu, who was also growing up in this facility, and left to become the dual king of Neo Domino City. Sound familiar? Jack also viewed Rex as his father, since Rex took care of him during his childhood and basically adopted him at a very young age. Jack takes on Yusei pretty early in the manga and actually gets the better of him and defeats him. At this point, Jack is already the dual king and is undefeated according to Yusei. Jack's sense causes Yusei's D-wheel to crash and virtually be obliterated throughout the duel. Jack wielded King's Sense, which is an extremely powerful sense. Now, sense is basically the real-life sensation of being able to deal real-life effects and damage when you attack them in a duel, and is referenced a lot throughout the manga. When the first tournament, the D1 Grand Prix, begins, Jack has already beaten almost all of the contestants that were entering, including Yusei, Greiger, Aki, Bolt, and Kiryu. Jack then goes on to duel Sect during this tournament, since Godwin informed him Sect had a shadow card, which Jack should own. Jack and Sect's duel is interrupted when the Shadow Knight kidnaps Sect in the middle of it, right as Yusei arrives to try and help Sect. Jack and Kiryu soon kindle their old rivalry when Kiryu tells Jack that he has Jack's stolen dual dragon, the Jeweled Red Demon's Dragon. Kiryu gives Jack the card back, stating that he doesn't need it since he has his own dual dragon now, and the two square off. Jack defeats Kiryu just like he did in their past, and tells Kiryu that friends are like shackles, and he is better off without them. Jack then travels to Aerial Fortress Cyball to try and obtain the power of the ultimate god. Jack takes on his quote-unquote dad, Rex Godwin, and in one of the more intense 5Ds manga duels, manages to pull out a draw. Jack's life is saved by a gust of wind, and even though he is bruised and beaten, he is able to ride to where Sect is, and is a spectator for the duel between Yusei and a possessed Sect. After Yusei is victorious, Jack saves Aki from falling to her death, since she was trying to be used as a sacrifice for the ultimate god. Jack then is verbally berated by Rex Godwin, stunned that he survived the duel they just had. We quickly learn that the only one who can face Godwin in the final duel is Yusei, which enrages Jack. Yusei goes on to defeat Godwin, and that pretty much all but concludes the 5Ds manga. There are two special chapters that were released after the original 5Ds manga ended, in which Jack loses his title of Dual King to Yusei. There are a few similarities between both versions of Jack. The easiest to identify is his personality. In both versions, he at one point viewed friends as people that hold him back. This inspired him to leave Satellite in the anime and the facility in the manga. In both versions, he strives to become the dual king of Neo Domino City, and in both versions, he succeeds. He also loses this title to Yusei in both the anime and the manga as well. Both Jacks actually beat Yusei in their first duel of the story. In the anime, Jack defeated Yusei in a flashback in the first known duel that is shown to us between the two. Jack defeats Kiryu in a duel in both adaptations as well. He may view Godwin as a father figure much more in the manga, but in both versions, Jack was taken under Godwin's wing and was kind of used as a pawn by Rex. Jack is an orphan in both versions as well. Although there are a good amount of similarities, there are quite a bit of differences between the two Jacks. For starters, Jack never really opens up as much as he does in the anime. Without Carly to show him the value of friendship, Jack doesn't really gain any friends or become a quote-unquote good guy during the 5Ds manga. Another major incident that caused him to have a lot of positive development in the anime was his loss to Yusei. He does lose to Yusei in the manga, but that's in the epilogue, and we never really see Jack's manga persona at all after this loss since the story ends. While Jack wields powerful ace dragons in both versions, he has a Signer dragon in the anime and a dual dragon in the manga. Strong dragons in both, but pretty notable differences between the origins and meaning behind the two. Another pretty major one is the role of rival. While Jack plays the role of rival in the 5Ds anime, I never really got that rival vibe in the manga. Granted, him and Yusei do have a lot of back and forth, but Jack was more of an anti-hero than he was a rival in the 5Ds manga. He had a lot of different people who despised him, not just Yusei. If you have any more notable similarities and differences between the two Jacks, feel free to let me know down below. Let's take a look at the decks Jack wields in the anime and the manga. In the anime, Jack uses a power deck which focuses on synchro summoning his ace Red Demon's Dragon. toward the later parts of the show, Jack gets a powerful upgrade known as Scar Red Nova Dragon. Jack utilizes this monster during a lot of his endgame duels. This monster also happens to be the strongest in his deck with a whopping 3,500 attack points, but since the effect of this monster lets it gain 500 attack for each tuner in your grave, and you need 2 tuners to summon it, it will almost always have at least a booming 4,500 attack points. In the manga, Jack isn't a signer, so he has to rely on his pretty similar dual dragon. He runs a king deck, and just like in the anime, the main tactic of his deck is to synchro summon. Jack runs multiple equipped spells that harm his opponent's monsters, as well as utilizing traps that protect his own. The strongest card in this deck in terms of attack points is his Red Dragon King Red Dragon Calamity, which has an obelisk-esque 4,000 attack points. So, this is the part where I pick which Jack I liked better, and I have to say this one is pretty tough for me. Jack is a top 3 rival character for me in the anime, in which I really love the growth and development he shows in his personality throughout the show, but in the manga, I also really like Jack's character. He was pretty much an a-hole the entire story, but it was a blast to watch, and he honestly plays a really good anti-hero. In my opinion, I prefer just by a little bit Jack Atlas in the anime. As much as I love manga Jack, I can't look away from all the character growth he had in the anime. He had the same smug persona as he did in the manga for the first 25 to 30 episodes, but seeing him grow, in large help thanks to his losses and Carly, was one of my favorite things about the 5Ds anime. I mean, he fist bumps Yusei after their final duel. Could you imagine Seto Kaiba fist bumping Yugi after a loss? I just enjoy when rival characters have a full turnaround and learn the value of relying on other people. The honest truth that I've always believed is that we are alive for a long time, and being able to rely on others only makes you better and healthier as a person. It's not easy taking the loner, hateful person route your entire life. And contrary to what manga Jack believes, friends are not shackles. Anime Jack realizes those words are false. I'm not sure manga Jack ever will. And so, for that reason, Anime Jack Atlas takes this one by just a little bit. And that pretty much wraps it up. I hope you all enjoyed my anime vs manga analysis for the king, Jack Atlas. And leave all your thoughts, including which version of Jack you liked more, down below. Huge thank you to my Platinum tier patrons Alexa Baker, Christopher Johannes Bouska, Glen McGookin, Jorge Carrillo, D01, and James Rose, and to my Diamond tier patrons Soledsnak and bouldergeist. A thank you from the bottom of my heart to everyone who supports me over on Patreon. If you want to vote in the next poll, consider supporting me over on Patreon, since that's where the polls are. But if you do not have any disposable income, or you do not want to pledge any money, then I completely understand. Just watching these videos is more support than I could ever ask from you guys. So again, thank you all so much for watching. I will talk to you down below. Thanks for the amazing support, and I hope you have an amazing day.